Ni hao, Orca, 4th grade. Let's get going, okay? If you guys remember, in the city of Ember, Lena was about to deliver a message to the mayor's office. She was waiting in the waiting room. She got bored, saw a door cracked, and was like, I'm gonna go in that. Saw there was a case of stairs. Starts climbing up the stairs, and it leads to another door. In the last video, I saw that some of you commented you think she's going to find the secret box on how to get out of the city of Ember. And some of you, aka class, wanted me to read the whole entire book in this video. Friends, I think YouTube would break if I uploaded that long of a video. So I won't do that to you guys, and I won't do that to YouTube. But I thought I would just quickly rehash with us what was the message that Lena wanted to, or had to deliver, okay? So I'll read that section, and then we'll jump into our cliffhanger of what she is about to find in the mayor's office. Or maybe here. We don't know. We'll see if some of our predictions are true. Okay, so first the message that she has to deliver is given by a man named Looper. And he says, all right, listen carefully. Tell him, delivery at 8 from Looper. Repeat it back. Delivery at 8 from Looper. Cool. All right, now that we all know what that message means, or what it is, we have no idea what it means. Unless you have any predictions, maybe you can comment below and tell me what you think the message really means. What's going down at 8? What is being delivered? After finishing this chapter, let's see if you guys can guess, okay? All right, but let's jump in. All right. So, she went into another door at the top of the stairs. She left the waiting room, but no one had come. And she climbed on, passing another closed door. So now she's in a hallway at the top of these stairs. The Gathering Hall was the only building in Ember with 3 stories. She had always wanted to stand on its roof and look out over the city. Maybe from there it would be possible to see beyond the city into the unknown regions. If the bright city of her drawings really did exist, it would be out there somewhere. At the top of the stairs, she came to a door marked Roof, and she pushed it open. Chilly air brushed against her skin. She went outside. Ahead of her was a flat gravel surface, and about 10 paces away, she could see the high wall of the clock tower. She went to the edge of the roof. From there, she could see all of Ember. Directly below was Harkin Square, where people were moving this way and that, all of them appearing from this top-down view, more round than tall. Beyond Harkin Square, the lightened windows of the buildings made checkered lines, yellow and black, row after row in all directions. She tried to see farther across the unknown regions, but she couldn't. At the edges of the city, the lights were so far away that they made a kind of haze. She could see nothing beyond them but blackness. She heard a shout from the square below. Look! Came a small but piercing voice. Someone's on the roof! She saw a few people stop and look up. Who is that? What's she doing up there? Someone cried. More people gathered until a crowd was standing on the steps of the Gathering Hall. They see me, Lena thought, and it made her laugh. She waved at the crowd and did a few steps from the Bugfoot scurry dance. You guys can kind of imagine what that dance would look like. I'm not going to dance for you, to save yourselves, or to save me from embarrassment. But you guys, maybe if you want to send me a dancing video of what the Bugfoot scurry dance might look like, I might enjoy that. All right, and did a few steps of the Bugfoot scurry, which she learned in Clothing Square Dance Day. And they laughed and shouted some more. Then the door behind her burst open, and a huge guard with a bushy black beard was suddenly running toward her. Halt! He shouted, though she wasn't going anywhere. He grabbed her by the arm. What are you doing here? I was just curious, said Lena in her most innocent voice. I was just curious. I wanted to see the city from the roof. She read the guard's name badge. It was Reg Stavik, Chief Guard. Curiosity leads to trouble, said Reg Stavmark. He peered down at the crowd. You have caused a commotion. He pulled her toward the door and hustled her down all 3 flights of stairs. When they came out into the waiting room, Barton Snood was standing there looking flustered. His jaw twitched side to side. Next to him was the mayor. A child causing trouble, Mayor Cole, said the chief guard. The mayor glared at her. I recall your face. From assignment day. Shame! Disgracing yourself in your new job. I didn't mean to cause trouble, said Lena. I was looking for you so I could deliver a message. Shall we put her in prison room for a day or 2? Asked Chief Guard. The mayor frowned. He pondered a moment. What is the message? He said. He bent down so that Lena could speak into his ear. She noticed that he smelled a little like overcooked turnips. Delivery at 8, whispered Lena. From Looper. The mayor smiled a tight little smile. He turned to the guard. Just a kid's antics, he said. We will let it go this time. From now on, he said to Lena, behave yourself. Yes, Mr. Mayor, said Lena. And you, said the mayor, turning to the assistant guard and shaking a thick finger at him, watch visitors much more carefully. Barton Snood blinked and nodded. Lena ran for the door. Outside, the small crowd was still standing by the steps. A few of them cheered as Lena came out. Others frowned at her and muttered words like mischief and silliness. Show off! Lena felt embarrassed suddenly. She hadn't meant to show off. She hurried past, out into Outer Will Street, and started to run. She didn't see Doon, who was among those watching her. He had been on his way home from his first day in the pipeworks when he'd come across the cluster of people gazing up at the roof at the gathering hall and laughing. He was tired and chilly. The bottoms of his pant legs were wet, and mud clung to his shoes and smeared his hands. When he raised his eyes and saw the small figure next to the clock tower, he realized right away that it was Lena. He saw her raise her arm and wave and hop around, and for a second he wondered what it would be like to be up there, looking over the whole city, laughing and waving. When Lena came down, he wanted to speak with her, but he knew he was filthy looking and that she would ask him questions he didn't want to answer. So he turned away. Walking fast, he headed for home. And that, friends, we did it, is the end of chapter 2. Should I stop the video now? Only do a short video. Chapter 3, Under Ember. Ooh, that might be a good cliffhanger. We'll lead a little bit into chapter 3. All right, chapter 3, Under Ember. This morning, Doon had arrived at the pipeworks full of anticipation. This was the world of serious work at last, where he would get a chance to do something useful. What he'd learned in school and from his father and from his own investigations, he could put it all to good purpose now. He pushed open the huge pipeworks door and stepped inside. The air smelled strongly of dampness and moldy rubber, which seemed to him to be pleasant. An interesting smell. He strode up a hallway where yellow stickers hung from pegs on the walls. At the end of the hallway was a room full of people, some of them sitting on benches and pulling on knee-high rubber boots, some struggling into their slickers, some buckling on tool belts. A raucous clamor filled the room. Doon watched from the doorway, eager to join in, but not sure what to do. After a moment, a man emerged from the throng. He thrust out a hand. Lester Muck, Pipeworks Director, he said. You're the new boy, right? What size feet do you have? Large, medium, or small? Medium, said Doon. And Lister found him a slicker and a pair of boots. Sorry. The boots were so ancient that their green rubber was cracked all over, as if covered with spider webs. He gave Doon a tool belt too, in which were wrenches and hammers, spools of wire, tape, and tubes of some sort of black goop. "You'll be in Tunnel 97 today," Lester said. "Arlen Frall will go down with you and show you what to do." He pointed to a short, delicate-looking girl with a white blonde braid down her back. "She may not look like an expert, but she is." Doon buckled his tool belt around his waist and put on his slicker, which for some reason smelled like sweaty feet. "This way," said Arlen, without saying hello or smiling. She wove through the crowds of workers to a door marked stairway and opened it. Stone steps led so far down that Doon couldn't see the end of them. On either side was a sheer wall of dark reddish stone, glistening with dampness. There were no railings. Along the ceiling ran a single wire from which a light bulb strung every few yards. Ooh, kind of creepy feeling. Water stood in shallow pools in each stair, and in the hollow worn into the stones by years of footsteps. Oh, reading today. They started down. Doon concentrated. The clumsy boots made it hard not to stumble. As they went deeper, he began to hear a low roar. So low, he seemed to hear it more with his stomach than his ears. It grew louder and louder. Was it a machine of some kind? Maybe the generator? The stairwell came to an end by a door marked Main Tunnel. Arlen opened it, and they stepped through. Doon realized that the sound he had been hearing wasn't a machine. It was a river. He stood still staring. Like most people, he had never been really sure what a river was. Just that it was water that somehow flowed on its own. He imagined it would be like a clear, narrow stream that came out of the kitchen faucet, only bigger and horizontal instead of vertical. But this was something entirely different. Not a stream of water, but endless tons of it pouring by. Wide as the widest street in Ember, churning and dipping and swirling, the river roared past. Its turbulent surface was black, liquid glass, scattered like flakes of light. Doon had never seen anything move that fast, and he had never heard such a thunderous, heart-stopping roar. The path they stood on was about 6 feet wide and ran parallel to the river, or farther than Doon could see in both directions. On the wall along the path were openings that must lead, Doon thought, to the tunnels that branched everywhere below the city. A string of lights like the one in the stairwell hung high against the arched ceiling. Doon knew he was standing beneath the north edge of Ember. I'm just going to go back to that paragraph where they describe the river, friends. That is the power of using descriptive words and adding detail into your story. If he would have just told us, oh yeah, it was a river going through a dark tunnel, would you be that interested? But now you have this creepy, kind of scary, whoa, it's so powerful kind of image in your head when they describe it as that, that it wasn't like a kitchen faucet, only bigger and horizontal and vertical, but that it was entirely different. I love these description words, so I'm going to reread it, guys, and I really want you to close your eye and really picture what this author's trying to have us envision. Not a stream of water, but endless tons of it pouring by, wide as the widest street in Ember, churning and dipping and swirling, the river roared past. Its turbulent surface was black, liquid glass scattered with flakes of light. I just love that image. I mean, I hope you're not picturing a nice, calm river flowing by. Like, I'm picturing rapids. I'm picturing it looking dark because it's in a dark tunnel, and when light hits it, it looks like black glass. Ooh, I love that descriptive work right there. The author did a nice job. All right, jumping back to what Doon knew he was standing beneath the north edge of Ember. In school, you were taught to remember the directions this way. North was the direction of the river. South was the direction of the greenhouses. East was the direction of the school, and west was the direction left over, having nothing in particular to mark it. All the pipework tunnels branched off from the main tunnel to the south, toward the city. Arlen leaned toward Doon and shouted into his ear. First, we'll go to the beginning of the river, she said. She led him up the main tunnel for a long way. They passed other people in yellow slickers, who greeted Arlen with a nod and glanced curiously at Doon. After 15 minutes or so, they came to the east edge of the pipeworks, where the river surged from a deep chasm in the ground, churning so violently that its dark water turned white and filled the air with spray that wet Doon's face. In the wall to their right was a wide double door. See that door right there? Arlen shouted and pointing. Yeah, Doon shouted back. That's the generator room. Can we go in? Of course not, said Arlen. You have to have special permission. She pointed back down the main tunnel. Now we're going down to the end of the river, she said. She leaned him back past the stairwell door all the way to the widest edge of the pipeworks. There the river flowed into a huge opening in the wall and vanished into darkness. Where does it go? Doon asked. Arlen shrugged. Back into the ground, I guess. Now let's find Tunnel 97 and get to work. She pulled a folded piece of paper from her pocket. This is the map. It's quieter now. They're not by the river. You have one in your pocket, too. You have to use the map to find your way around in here. The map looked to Doon like an immense centipede. The river arched across the top of the page like a centipede's body, and the tunnels dangled down from it like hundreds of long, long legs, all tangled up in each other. Ooh, so you can picture that main tunnel being a thick kind of one, like the centipede's body, and then little crazy legs. Ugh, don't like centipedes. All right, to get to Tunnel 97, they followed a complicated route through passageways lined with crusty, rusty pipes that carried water to all the buildings of Ember. Puddles stood on the floor of the tunnel, and water dripped in brown rivulets down the walls. Just as in the main tunnel, there was a string of bulbs along the ceiling that provided dim light. Doon occupied his mind by calculating how far underground he was. From the river to the ceiling of the main tunnel must be 30 feet or so, he thought. Above that were the storm rooms, which occupied a layer at least 20 feet high. So that meant he was 50 feet underground with tons of earth and rock buildings above him. The thought made him tense up his shoulders. He cast a quick glance upward, as if all that weight might collapse onto his head. Here we are, said Arlen. She was standing next to a lake that sprouted a stream of water straight out from the wall. We have to turn the shut-off valve, take the pipe apart, put on a new connector, and stick it back together again. With wrenches, hammers, washers, and black goop, they did this, getting soaked in the process. It took them most of the morning and proved to Doon that the city was in even worse shape than he suspected. Not only were the lights about to fail and the supplies about to run out, but the water system was breaking down. The whole city was crumbling. And what was anyone doing about it? When the lunch break came, Arlen took her lunch sack from a pocket in her from her tool belt and went off to meet with some friends a few tunnels away. You stay right here and wait until I get back, she said as she left. If you wander around, you'll get lost. But Doon set out as soon as she disappeared. Using his map, he found his way back to the main tunnel, then hurried to the east end. He wasn't going to wait for special permission to see the generator. He was pretty sure he could find a way to get to it on his own. And he did. He simply stood by the door and waited for someone to come out. Quite soon, a stout woman carrying a lunch sack pushed open the door and walked away. She didn't notice him. Before the door could close again, Doon slipped inside. And we're going to stop right there. Oh, I love stopping on good old cliffhangers for you guys. We're going to find out what Doon sees when he gets into the generator. I loved all of your predictions that you guys posted from last week's video. So I'm going to ask you guys, tell me, what is your prediction and what Doon is going to find in the generator? Also, if you think you have an idea of what that delivery from Looper is to the mayor, like what's the mayor getting delivered? If you think you know what that is, also write down your prediction, okay? Friends, we are in Chapter 3 of City of Ember. We did it! I'll see you again on Thursday.